Be careful who you let in your house. Carmilla is written and directed by Emily Harris, is on Shudder right now, stars Hannah Ray, Devram Longhaw, Jessica Raine, Tobias Menzies, and a few others in this gothic-style horror movie set somewhere in England, and I'm not exactly sure on the period, but it certainly is before electricity was invented. And you have Jessica Raine's character of Miss Fontaine, who's the governess of this household, where she is educating Laura in the ways of the world, and also is a bit strict, like really strict, like to the point where she is putting her left hand behind her back because she's left-handed, and being left-handed is apparently a sign of the devil. As you can tell, before the internet came along, people were pretty goddamn stupid, as opposed to now, where people will believe anything they read on the internet. Always educate yourself, kids, as I say stuff into a camera and put this video on the internet. So, anyway, Laura's excited. You know, she's this bright 15-year-old girl that loves to be around this lush countryside. And actually, it's a beautiful, beautiful location. Really great cinematography. Beautiful, like, you know, beautiful area. Is everything. It's very crisp and colorful. There are a few washed out moments that lend to the atmosphere and everything. And the acting's pretty good overall. And Laura is excited because her friend Charlotte is going to come, and she's like all, you know, all happy and everything. It's like, oh, I get a friend here. She doesn't have to rely on, you know, Miss Fontaine being an overlord, her dad being there that married this woman that's kind of a goddamn bitch, or the hired help, the one lone black hired help, because slavery, am I goddamn right? God, the overtones there. At least they weren't abusive to her. Oh boy, but man, seriously, fucking goddamn haunting how people were treated back then. But at least there was no Miss Scarlet, Miss Scarlet. They didn't go stereotypical there. So anyway, after a certain incident where Charlotte fell ill, Laura's in a bit of a depressed state. And then suddenly, one stormy night, this carriage crashes and a young girl, they can't remember her name, is brought into the house. And Mr. Bauer, the father, decides to go off and figure out, okay, I need to figure out what's going on because, you know, this girl crashed. The stagecoach guy is dead, completely dead. They actually show him impaled, being carried away a little bit later. And he needs to figure out who this girl is because she can't remember her name. So he goes off and it's pretty much gone for, I'd say, about, you know, 70% of the goddamn movie. I guess he had something else to do. And they were like, okay, we'll do your parts, film the end, and then go off and, I don't know, film a BBC series. The British channel, by the way, not an actual BBC. Lost my train of thought. This is where, you know, things start to, you know, sway a little bit into more psychological gothic horror because it's very, you know, a gothic theme here with the house and the lighting and everything. The fact they use candles, and Laura's excited because she's got a play friend. Also, there are overtones and undertones and all kinds of tones about the sexuality of Laura. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's stuff that's alluded to later on that pretty much gives into this. And this girl's mysterious, and she doesn't remember her name. One night she decides to say, well, you need to name me. So she could be a figment of her imagination or a pigment of her imagination. They're both white, so that doesn't make sense. And she says, how about Carmilla? Okay, Carmilla. And from there, they have some adventures and everything. And things start to go a little bit weird to the point where you're starting to question, well, is this in Laura's head? Is Carmilla an evil bitch? Is Miss Fontaine deciding to, you know, have some poontang out there? No, that wouldn't make sense at all. Is, you know, Miss Fontaine, you know, correct in her assessment this girl might be evil? Also, why is she thinking that left-handed people are the devil? I don't get it. So the rest of the movie basically is everybody trying to figure out what the audience could easily figure out, that there's going to be some sinister shit going on here. The way it's handled is pretty good. They do some good violence, but I don't want to say they go overboard because there are a few, you know, grotesque moments, but it's handled well, and the music is, you know, well placed. It is beautifully shot. The cinematography in this is fucking incredible, and the performances are pretty good. These two girls, you know, deliver some good performances for being, you know, young and new to film, I imagine, even though I think their IMDb's lists that they've been in a few things. So obviously they're experienced, but young enough to grow and grow. And there is a bit of an age difference, not as much as there was in Blue is the Warmest Color. One of my favorite movies, but my God, if you check out the frickin', you know, backstory for that, you realize the director's kind of a goddamn absolute dick. As for this movie, Emily Harris actually treats it really well in the way she does the writing, the way she, you know, directs it. It's simple. This could have been a made-for-cable movie. I mean, it seriously could have. There wasn't a ton to this outside of the gore moments. The rest of it is pretty easy to figure out, and where the movie basically falters from being really good, is it's too easy to figure out what's going on, and eventually, like I'd say about an hour in, they start limping along to try and stretch this motherfucker out to about 90 to 92 minutes. But that can't take away from the fact that there's a lot of good technical stuff with this movie, and it really is overall quite good, even with its faults. So I would say absolutely check it out if you have Shudder. If you don't have Shudder and you're a horror movie fan, check this out. It isn't a straight up horror movie, but there are some cool moments, so I enjoyed it. Anyway, I'm going to get into spoilers now, so 3, 2, 1, go, go, go. Spoilers, spoilers, quick, quick. Okay, so it turns out Carmilla is kind of an evil bitch, and maybe drain the life force out of people. Maybe she's somebody that's creating a plague, because there's a plague on both their houses. Okay, there's only one, but this Charlotte girl fell ill, and then Carmilla basically gets, Laura to give into her carnal desires, and they become blood sisters, and they do kiss a few times. I don't necessarily know, what did the parents have to be on set? Like, was one of the girls underage? Like, that's happened with some other movies, but the way they handled it was actually pretty good, because it's obvious that this sheltered girl, is being taken in, just totally sucked in by this girl that is an evil bitch. But maybe she's not. Maybe Miss Fontaine is just a little bit crazy. No, it actually turns out that Miss Fontaine had a right to, maybe she was a little bit too strict, but they end up getting rid of this Carmilla girl eventually, because it turns out that she's trying to basically suck the life force out of her and make her sick. Laura, however, is in so deep with her. She's in too deep. She's trying to keep all the blood in her head instead of going under, but they end up running away a little bit later. After Mr. Bauer, thanks Mr. Bauer for coming back and taking care of your household after about 18 months being away. I think it was only 2 weeks, but no cell phones, and everybody traveled by horses, and eventually you need whiskey, rather water, for your horses. Don't feed whiskey to your horses, kids. And they run away, and basically the adults find them. They stake Carmilla through the goddamn heart, because she had this book that was like these dark arts, these torture things and whatever. And also there was a book similar to that in Laura's father's study. So they decide basically to get rid of this girl, and maybe they killed an innocent girl, maybe they didn't. They staked her through the goddamn heart and beat her. And they killed her, and then Laura was all, distraught, throwing rocks into a goddamn lake, and that's pretty much it. There really wasn't a lot to this movie, but it was, again, the technical aspects are pretty damn good, and the acting's pretty good, but it was a slow burn for a while, and then it was like, okay, we're limping along, and then we're going to end it, and that's it. And it ended well. I won't say it was bad. I will say B-, because it was good at times. I went down from a B+ because I just felt that the movie kind of ran out of steam, a little bit sooner than it should have. But anyway, B- overall. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Redlin. I'll see you soon.